Have you ever felt like your life is following a script written by someone else? Like the choices you think are yours have been quietly dictated, the patterns you repeat pre-written, the outcomes preordained? For most of us, it feels impossible to imagine anything different. But what if I told you that the lines you recite every day may not define you at all? That there is an unseen hand guiding them? And that the possibility to choose, to shape, to write differently has always existed. Quietly, secretly, beneath the surface, the disappointments that repeat, the relationships that mirror old pains, the quiet insistence that life is happening to you, these are not coincidences. They are echoes of a script you inherited long before you understood the meaning of choice. You have been performing without consent, believing the story was reality, and yet, the astonishing truth is that the script is neither law nor destiny. It is a collection of borrowed lines, whispers from childhood, authority, society, and fear, layered so deeply you forgot they were never yours. The hidden narrative waits quietly, shaping your decisions, disguising itself as inevitability, convincing you that repetition is truth. And what if even this repetition is nothing more than illusion? What if the rules you live by, the boundaries you have accepted, the limits you believe are fixed, are just words written in invisible ink, waiting for you to finally read them differently? Every criticism you absorbed, every glance that implied you were too much or not enough, every dismissal and sigh became a line in this unseen script. A child reaching for affection is told, "You are too needy." A mistake is met with scorn, "You will never be enough." A teenager dares to dream and is dismissed, "Desire is foolish." Better to shrink? Heartbreak comes, and its pain is mistaken for proof of inadequacy. These lines quietly accumulate until adulthood, when the story feels permanent. You no longer think, "I am repeating lessons." You think, "This is who I am. This is life. This is inevitable." And yet, patterns emerge, revealing that nothing about it is fixed. How many times have you argued the same argument, reacted the same way, felt the same despair, only to ask silently, "Why does this always happen?" Because the script is still running. You are still performing. And yet, if you look closely, you may begin to notice something strange. In the quiet, fleeting moments, a suspicion arises. Perhaps the stage is not fixed. Perhaps the lines were never truly binding. Perhaps the roles were never meant to imprison you. This awareness is almost imperceptible at first, a subtle recognition that the patterns, the fears, the repeated failures are not as inevitable as they seem. It is here, in this hidden pause, that the forbidden truth begins to reveal itself. You are not simply an actor stumbling across a stage you didn't choose. You are more. You are the one who holds the pen, the unseen hand capable of rewriting the narrative, choosing new words, new outcomes, new lines that reflect freedom rather than fear. Imagine what happens when you refuse one old line, then another, then another. Each refusal weakens the grip of repetition. Each conscious choice dissolves the old story, not through effort or struggle, but through awareness. What if the fear that grips you, the feeling of inadequacy, the sense of limitation, is nothing more than a line someone else wrote long ago? Notice the thoughts insisting you are small, undeserving, inadequate. Notice the compulsions to repeat mistakes, to sabotage, to doubt, to argue the same fight over and over. Ask yourself, whose voice is this? Where did it come from? Do I still wish to carry it? The act of noticing is the first erasure. The act of questioning is the first freedom. And the moment you truly see that the lines are borrowed, their hold collapses. You do not need to fix the character. You do not need to polish the story. You need only recognize the illusion. The old script will resist. It will whisper, "This is who you are." You cannot change. You are trapped. It will appear in memory, in fear, in familiar ache. But the deeper truth, the forbidden revelation that few ever speak aloud is, that the script only has power when you consent to repeat it. Stop reciting. Stop performing. Watch as the story begins to dissolve. Replace one line with awareness. Replace another with refusal. Replace another with the recognition that you are not the character, not the plot, not the pattern. And suddenly, what seemed impossible, the quiet freedom that has always been your birthright, begins to emerge. What story are you telling yourself right now? Survival, striving, pleasing, proving, guilt, shame, fear? Or are you willing, here and now, to whisper, "This line is not mine. I choose again"? This is the secret so few discover. The power of choice is not in grand gestures, not in monumental change, but in the silent refusal to keep repeating what was never real. Notice the lines you have rehearsed all your life. I can't. I'm not enough. It's always like this. See them and do not speak them. Replace them with nothing. Awareness. Recognition that the stage is not fixed. The spotlight is not real. The ending was never written. Every refusal is a hook back to freedom. Every moment of noticing unlocks a secret. Every choice to see differently is rebellion against the illusion. And when you truly begin, life stops being a rehearsal and becomes presence, alive, unpredictable, radiant, intimate. The old script cannot compete with presence. It cannot survive awareness. It cannot bind what was never meant to be bound. Before the day ends, find a line of your script you've repeated one too many times. Perhaps I am not enough, or I must earn love, or I always fail. Pause, breathe, acknowledge it. Then say silently, "This is not mine, I choose again." Replace it not with another wordy affirmation, but with nothing, just awareness, recognition that the line no longer defines you. Watch as the pattern loosens, the tension fades, and subtle freedom seeps in, unannounced, almost hidden. The unseen script has been the world's best kept secret, and you have been performing it unconsciously, thinking it was your life, thinking it was inevitable, thinking it was too late to change. The truth, almost impossible to believe at first, is that you have always held the key. The lines you thought were permanent are only stories. The patterns you thought were fate are rehearsals. The weight you have carried is ink on paper, and the pen is yours. All you need is to notice, refuse, and choose again. And when you finally stop, pause, and step into the role of the unseen author rather than the trapped actor, life begins to feel impossible in its openness, unimaginable in its freedom, and radiant in the way it was always meant to be. The forbidden secret is no longer hidden. You know it. You feel it. You are it. And now that you know the secret, that the script has been invisible yet present, guiding without permission, you may begin to notice its subtleties everywhere. Look around, and you'll see it in the way fear arises unbidden, in the patterns of conflict that repeat silently, in the quiet stories you tell yourself about why things cannot change. These moments are like fingerprints of the unseen author, lines traced over your life, almost imperceptible and yet undeniable. And here is the forbidden truth few ever allow themselves to see. The very things you thought were evidence of your limits are simply clues that the script exists. Nothing more, nothing less. The repetition is not proof of failure, it is proof of authorship waiting to be reclaimed. Think about the moments when life seems to conspire against you. Perhaps it is a relationship that mirrors old wounds, a career path that feels stuck in invisible constraints, or an internal voice whispering that you are inadequate. All of these are lines already written, rehearsals you've performed so many times you forgot you had the choice to improvise. What if the cracks, the glitches, the unexpected interruptions were not punishment, but reminders that the script is still on the page and that you can write a new line at any moment? The very awareness that something is repeating, that patterns feel familiar, is the secret key. It is the invisible invitation to step off the stage of unconscious performance and into the quiet, immense freedom that has always existed beneath it. And yet, you may resist. The old script knows your tricks. It will mask itself as logic, as memory, as necessity. It will insist that the past defines the present, that the mistakes you made are evidence of who you are, that the failures you experienced are permanent ink, unchangeable. It will whisper, you cannot change, you are trapped. And here is where the forbidden knowledge strikes with quiet audacity. You can. The power to choose differently has never been lost. It has only been hidden. And the moment you see this, even briefly, the entire stage shifts. Even the faintest awareness of authorship cracks the illusion of inevitability. Now imagine what it would be like to truly begin rewriting. Not in words shouted into the void, not in declarations to the world, but in small, intimate choices. The refusal of one old thought, the gentle noticing of another, the quiet decision not to participate in a repeated argument, the subtle pause before responding to fear. These are the brushstrokes of a new narrative. The unseen script cannot hold against these moments of awareness. It cannot defend itself against them. Each conscious choice erases a line that has been unconsciously rehearsed for years, decades even. Each choice reminds you that you are the author, that the stage, the lines, and the spotlight were never truly binding. Do you notice how strange it feels to consider this? Almost dangerous, even. That very discomfort is proof that you are touching something profound. The old story resists because it is comfortable, familiar, and secretly, it has been holding a subtle power over you, shaping your actions, your beliefs, your sense of self. And now, simply by noticing, by daring to question, by pausing before reciting the familiar lines, you begin to dissolve its hold. You are discovering a freedom that has been hidden in plain sight, a power so intimate, so quietly radical, that almost no one would recognize it if it appeared. Ask yourself, which lines of your unseen script have you repeated without choice? Perhaps, I am not enough, I must earn approval, or I always fail. Look closer, and you may find even subtler ones. I am always responsible for others' happiness. I must avoid conflict at all costs. I cannot trust the world. These are not truths. They are borrowed lines, rehearsals written before you could consent, and you can choose to stop. You can choose to refuse. You can write a new line in silence privately and notice how it changes everything. The small act of refusing one line begins a cascade of liberation that no one can take away from you. You may wonder, how do I know what to write instead? And here is the subtle brilliance of the secret. You don't need to write anything at all. You only need to stop reciting the old. Awareness, attention, presence, these are enough. In the silence that emerges when the habitual lines are no longer repeated, the new story begins to write itself. It does not need your control, only your recognition. The world you experience is not the stage of someone else as design it, is the reflection of your perception. Change the perception and the world changes. The script has no power except the consent you give it. Withhold that consent and freedom flows effortlessly. Consider the extraordinary nature of this knowledge. Most people live and die performing the script, never noticing that the lines were written for them, never realizing they could refuse. You have now glimpsed the forbidden, the hidden, the impossible truth. The pen has always been in your hand. This is why life suddenly feels lighter, why familiar fears and repetitions begin to lose their intensity, why an almost imperceptible sense of peace or curiosity can appear in the midst of chaos. You are beginning to reclaim authorship, line by line, thought by thought, moment by moment. Take a moment to feel it. Sense the subtle shift in perception that arises when you notice a familiar thought and choose not to recite it. Feel the freedom that arrives quietly, almost hidden, like a secret shared only with yourself. These moments accumulate. They are not dramatic, not grand, but they are profoundly transformative. Slowly, imperceptibly, the old script fades. It no longer dictates your choices. It no longer holds the power it once seemed to have. You begin to realize that what you thought was life happening to you was always life happening through you, and that the distinction is everything. And now, as you become more aware of the unseen script, you can look at every challenge, every fear, every repetition with a new lens. You see the lines for what they are: rehearsals, not destiny; shadows, not substance; illusions, not truth. You begin to notice that peace, freedom, and joy were never outside your reach. They were hidden in plain sight, waiting for your awareness to awaken them. Each refusal, each conscious choice, each quiet moment of noticing dissolves the old lines and replaces them with an unspoken, uncheckable truth. You are not the character. You are not the plot. You are the author, the hidden hand, the secret keeper of your own story. Before this day ends, take one forbidden line, the one you have recited the most, and do what few ever do. Refuse it, see it for what it is, and do not participate. In the silence that follows, notice the subtle liberation that begins to bloom. This is how the unseen script loses its power. This is how you reclaim life that was never truly written for you. This is the secret so few ever discover, the knowledge that the world cannot easily reveal, yet you now hold. The unseen script has been revealed. You have glimpsed it, touched it, understood it. The lines you thought were permanent are only stories. The repetitions you believed were inevitable are only rehearsals. The weight you carried is ink on paper, and the pen has always been yours. All you need to do is notice, refuse, and choose again. And when you do, when you finally step fully into your role as the unseen author rather than the trapped actor, life transforms. It becomes alive, open, radiant, and intimate. The forbidden secret is no longer hidden. You know it. You feel it. You are it.